everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Lucid's 2022 Tournament Game 4, where we are playing Nazca. This is turn 17. Yeah, let's jump into things. So, the last couple turns have been a cliff. I was going to say a downhill slide, or a decline, but they've basically just been a whoosh, like, hard drop on our being in the game. So I don't think we have very many turns left, but while we are alive, the whole goal is going to be, what can we do to bloody the nose of whoever is going to try to kill us? And I think we're going to have a lot of information this turn, because there's some interesting developments. So, let's go ahead and kick things off with things that have actually happened. So, trade is an interesting one to start off with. We have received magic bracers of protection from Ulm. And you're also going to see on here that we have sent Ulm 10 fire gems. This is for more gear, okay? Again, not going to talk about what the gear is specifically because we've got a couple of different things in and I didn't take the greatest notes. So we'll talk about that once we actually get the gear and what we're planning on doing with it. So, just know that we're sending Ulm more stuff. We sent Arco and Ulm stuff last turn. We're sending Ulm more stuff this turn to get gear and research items and things like that to try to hit certain goals and be able to bloody the nose of whoever we fight. So there's that. Next up, we have completed research for Enchantment 3. Fantastic. And now we're moving up Alteration 3. So we talked at length last time about what research we were doing and why, at least initially. Maybe that'll change. But Enchantment 3 was absolutely something that we wanted to complete for Strength of Giants. Strength of Giants added into all of our flyers, but specifically things like Sun Guard, right? Any of our Sacreds is going to significantly amp their damage in addition to the +4 strength that we already have. So, that is very exciting. And then we have some battles. We can see Yis did attack. We talked about this last turn. I ended our nap with Yis and said, hey, come take some land. And I talked to them at length about Agartha's makeup and the location of armies and things like that so they could make informed decisions. Let's see what they sent against us. Ooh. I love Movark Knights and Morgan Champions. Like, they're so fucking cool looking. So we have a Morgan champion over here who actually has an air gem, which is interesting. Air, water, and then of course a priest. So we're gonna get to see a bless. These are spell singers, so they cast slower, but they take less fatigue. Very, very cool unit. One of, I think, the coolest units in the game, in the base game at least. We are not going to be able to compete with this at all. So, Quick and Self, and we don't want to, right? Quick and Self, so Quick and Self is quickness, right? Runs twice as fast, strikes twice in a turn. 3 attacks, very, very cool. You can continue to use the Golden Lance afterwards, after the charge bonus, or charge, you just get a charge bonus on the first strike. So you get a Golden Lance, which is magical. You get Hoof, which is not magical, and then you get a little fiery area effect 1 breath. Very cool. Movarks are super awesome. Blessing, what do we got? We got a very modest bless. Actually, that is a incredibly modest bless. Gold 5. I wish I could take a gold 5 bless. Cold resistance 5 and defense skill 2. Defense skill 2 does boost their defense into kind of stupid scenarios. I guess that's the thing with Movarks. You don't, or Movarks and Morgan champions, you don't have to have a crazy defense or bless for them to be strong. There's also the possibility of this being a dormant bless, or not dormant, imprisoned bless, right? So perhaps there are more components to this bless, but maybe Yis was just like, I don't need it to do well at the beginning of the game. So we'll see. This does somewhat surprise me. This seems like a pretty modest bless for Yiss. Yiss typically gets played as very heavy on the Sacreds, the Movark Knights, and the Morgan Champions, intending to carry you to victory through their just oppressive combat abilities. But either way, we see Quicken Self, we see Blessing, we see Mist Form. That's what the personal gem is for. Interesting. So Mist Form means Alt 4 already, right? No, Alt 3. Gotcha. Oof. Big hit. Slime. Got this guy's over here casting slime. Interesting. So the fire breath is just very helpful for deleting chaff, squares of chaff, right? What did we take? Have we taken damage from something? Interesting. Where's this up? Nope. No idea. Okay, so very easy win for that Morgan champion. I will say, Yiss is going to need to be careful if he tries to snag territory from the from Agartha, because these Morgan champions do have built-in fire resistance, but not a lot. So they will hurt themselves on the fire shield of the magma kids, and potentially, probably not fatigue out, but still something to be concerned about. So there's that. We got attacked in the Mighty Pillars by Van. So this is our fortification. And this seems to be the vast majority of that military. So we see 4 stacks here. We saw 3 stacks last turn of Van Heers. And we see this Burgermeister Guard with a Line Tribe Witch Doctor. And then we see the other thing here. And this is one of the... We'll talk more about this later. But we see on a lot of these units, we see Great Swords of Sharpness. Okay? So just keep that in mind. There's a couple Great Swords of Sharpness around here. So there's that. Our PD is going to get just demolished here. A bunch of Hatan Runa go up. They come down. They get destroyed. A bunch of Blesses go out. We're shooting. In point of fact, the shooting does not work as well as it might because of Air Shield 40. He actually uses javelins on a fair number of these. That's pretty funny. And we are slaughtered. I'm assuming nothing lost. Maybe a Hoburg. No, nothing lost. No, even the Burgermeister's guards did not get... They actually have really high defense. That's interesting. So utterly slaughtered, as to be expected. And then we have 2 battles for Agartha. This is Neranthian. This is the one on the coast, which was the potential for Yiss to bump. And, okay, so this is the Magma Children and the Golem Crafter, and he's casting Protection from Fire, but... Is he still going for... Okay, so here's the issue with this, right? He's still trying to Strength of Giants these Magma Children, but he's not committing to it, right? Like, he doesn't want to have the Magma Children near his Golem Crafter, or on his Golem Crafter, because his Golem Crafter might die to the burning of the Magma Children, or to ranged attacks that are targeting the Magma Children. But, he's still trying to get the Strength of Giants off scenario, but he's not committing to it, right? So, if you're going to try to do Strength of Giants on Magma Children, which is very nice, you have to commit to it, right? Like, you have to either put them behind you, or to the side of you, right? and do, as they're walking forward, you can do Strength of Giants and then summon Earth Power and tag them as they're passing you. Or if you want to, sorry, if you want to have them be behind you, you could do like have them be behind you and do Strength of Giants and just hope you don't get burned. You probably will get burned. If you're gonna do Protection from Fire though, like just have them hold an attack. They're like there's you just need to commit to it, right? Or don't worry about putting Strength of Giants on them, right? And just instead worry about protecting the Golem Crafter. So cast defensive buffs and things like that. So, because as it is right now, these casts are doing nothing. Like the protection from fire doesn't matter. The Earth Power gets him what, 1 more protection. The summon Earth Power or the Strength of Giants doesn't matter for him. It's just you're not accomplishing anything with that. So if you want to Strength of Giants these guys, you need to commit to it. You need to either have them hold next to him or go conveyor style like past him so he can tag him with the situation. And there's pros and cons, don't get me wrong. There's pros and cons to either of those situations. If they are conveying past or they're behind him, right, you run the risk of him being targeted by arrows or cavalry or things like that. And if you hold in front of him, you do run the risk of him catching on fire. Now, I think if you're going to put fire resistance on him, right, if you're going to do protection from fire, that doesn't really matter. I don't think you can still... I don't think you can burn. Can you burn after... Burn. Okay, I think you can still burn. So, when taking fire damage, a unit can catch fire and will be subject to additional burning damage until the fire goes out. You take damage based off of your size until the fire goes out. But you have a chance to extinguish it every single turn. A base of 25% plus fire resistance times 2. So if you have fire 10, right, that's plus 20. And then it's plus the cold scales and whether or not it's raining or things like that can all affect it. But you have a pretty good chance of the fire being put out. So I think if you're going to do something like this, the thing to do is basically just have them hold 2 tiles in front of the Golem Crafter, right? So basically right here, because you're going to be far enough away, range-wise, to generally not worry about the heat, though it might tag you. Or you can put them 3 away, right? And you should be perfectly fine. I don't think there's any chance of you getting hit by Heat 3 at that point, right? But just put them 2 to 3 away and then have them hold. Hold an attack, do your summon Earth Power, do your Strength of Giants, you'll tag them, you'll be fine, right? That I think is the way to do it. Anyways, that's an easy win for Agartha, no big deal. And then they actually attack in Toledo as well. With the army, so they don't come at my capital. They instead go to Toledo, and of course they're gonna trounce this PD. But what is interesting is that Toledo is a well of pestilence, and what's more interesting, they willingly moved this army into a well of pestilence. What's more interesting is Agartha knew it was a well of pestilence. They told me they knew it was a well of pestilence because I told them, "Hey, I was trying to be friendly last turn and just kind of like suss out information." And I said, "You might not want to move an army into Toledo because it's got a well of pestilence." And they said, yeah, I know, I've been scrying your lands, because Agartha has the, the site that allows them to send an Earth mage in to scry on a location. And then they did it anyways, which I find very interesting. I mean, a couple diseases probably is not that big of a deal, but, I mean, if you can avoid it, it seems funny not to. Anyways, so we've got some battles here. Battle versus Yes, 0 wins, 1 loss. Battle versus Agartha, 0 wins, 2 losses. And battles versus Vanheim, 0 wins and 1 loss. Of note here, right, is that there's no battles versus Ashdod in any of this, which is going to lead to some conversations. So we're also under siege in the Mighty Pillars, and our walls are damaged. Let's talk about things that let's get some basics out of the way real quick, because then we're just gonna talk about things. So basics out of the way. Recruitment, we are doing 4 Sun Guards. That's literally all the money we have. So that's what we're doing. We've got that. Believe this is here-ish. And then special recruits, we've got 2 Supayas, and we actually snagged 14 Hatan Runa last turn, so we've got that. So cool. And now let's talk about all the stuff. What have we learned in the last turn? Well, one thing that we've learned is that Agartha has more stuff in our vicinity than we thought. So they did move into Toledo because they have another army on the way, and they deemed it necessary to try to obtain as much of our territory as they could. So, Van hit Mighty Pillars. And we can see over here, Ashdod has a big stack coming at the Mighty Pillars. And we also talked about this in the Van battle, but Van has several great swords of sharpness. So I haven't had much to do on my turns, go figure, except to talk to people and talk about things and suss things out. So I've done a lot of talking to people in the last several turns, talking to people for trade information, right? Arco and Ulm and Yis and others, right? Talking to Agartha, talking to or not. Did I say Agartha earlier with the trade? Arco is what I meant. Talking to Agartha, talking to Van, talking to Ashdod. And I have been able to suss out some particular information throughout a fair amount of this. The first thing that I have been able to suss out is Agartha is going to be who we are fighting on our cap. They're most likely, right? The way things have shaken out is that Agartha is the one who is going to be sieging and attempting to take our capital. Van is trying to take Mighty Pillars. Ashdod is big mad, and I think rightly so. I don't know if RCK is mad about not getting the capital. I don't know if it was just negotiated that RCK is not getting the capital, or if it was negotiated as a first come first serve type scenario. I don't know. Like I said this previously, right? Our fight in Pack Woods, we lost horribly, but we did rout them and delay them by a turn, basically. Otherwise, they would be able to attack us already, right? Would have been able to attack us last turn. And whether it's vulturing or whether it's poor negotiation or what have you, but what things have boiled down to is that Agartha is coming for my capital. Ashdod wants Mighty Pillars and these northern territories, right? And Van is not letting it go. And so Van has attacked Mighty Pillars, and I think it is very, very likely that we see a battle between Ashdod and Van in Mighty Pillars, and potentially even a war, depending on how things go, how negotiation goes. I think right now, the scenario is Ashdod is like, no, I did the work, I get something for this. And Van is, you can have something for it if you can take it from me. There might be more particulars to that. I have heard tell that negotiations were happening, but I do not know the particulars of the negotiations, so I don't know how they actually panned out. It is what it is, and I'm also not gonna jump into hearsay or anything like that. So, suffice to say, it looks like of our three aggressors, two of them may be fighting soon, which I find very amusing. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out. Should at the very least be some interesting battles to watch here. But I almost like Van didn't make these great swords of sharpness themselves. So again, did a lot of talking. Which means they're getting supplied great swords of sharpness from Ulm. And really, a reason to get stuff like great swords of sharpness is to do lots of damage to high prot targets, or more realistically, lots of damage to high HP targets, like giants. So Van having all of these great swords of sharpness, to me, signifies that they were either looking to go towards Ashdod, which we know is here, right? Or towards a Jotunheim, perhaps, that is nearby. And I'll say it at this point. My scouting, I have I don't think we've actually talked about this. My scouting, I've done less and less of here recently. I haven't been branching out, but that's because we've sussed out where everyone is via conversation, right? Ulm is south of Van. We knew that, right? So Van is here. Ulm is here. We found their capital. And I via conversation with Ulm, I have found that Jotunheim is north of Van. We knew from the very beginning, once we figured out where Ashdod was, that Nabha was over here. And we know that Van is over here because we had a weird event where we got we got Dominion in one of these provinces over here. And that gave us sight of their capital. And then so Arcocephale is basically down in this area, right? And then we've known for a while, Yis is to the right of us, or to the east of us. Oceania is to the south of them, and Pelagia is to the north of them, right? So there's that. So we've actually, I haven't talked about it, but we've sussed out where all of the various different nations are. So Van having all of these great swords of sharpness, to me, signifies that they were potentially gearing up to fight against Jotunheim, right? Wanting great swords of sharpness to chop up giants, great. Sounds like a plan. That is a good idea, because that's a lot of... Jotunheim is strong early game, but there's also very strong mid game and super strong late game. Jotunheim is an amazing nation in the Middle Age. The Jotunheim nations are pretty great nations throughout most of the eras. But so are the Ashdods, or Hinnom, Ashdod, what's the last one? I can't remember. Regardless, though, it looks like Van has decided to set himself against a giant, or set themselves against a giant, right? So I don't know if they intended from the very beginning on Ashdod to be that target, but it looks like Ashdod is potentially going to be that target, which I find very interesting. So suffice to say, we talked about that a whole bunch. Interested to see what happens here. And then now we know specifically that Agartha is coming at us. And I think that's really good news. Because I think, I said this in the last video, but I think we can do the most damage to Agartha. Now, I don't have anything against Agartha the player, right? But what I want to try to do, one, is just continue to play the game as best I can, right? But two, is establish that scenario of like, I will lose a game, sure. I'm not known for winning a bunch of games, but if you come at me, I'm not just gonna roll over. I'm gonna do everything that I can to make it painful for you, right? So that is the message that we want to try to send here. Not necessarily for this game, but for future games, right? So I have nothing against Agartha, but we are gonna try to make this as painful for Agartha as we possibly can. That being said, there's not really anything that we can do well this turn, right? Now, we talked last turn about how their positioning was somewhat off. So if we check like Talito here, and with the Golem Crafters, this positioning is better, right? Where is he at? Yeah, he's now in with the rest of the heavy infantry. Which is all fine, so he's somewhat more protected. Though not incredibly so, right? We could still get a drop on that. But it is better. And then there's also Magnus, the captain, back here that can lead things. He's got a smasher, that's interesting. But, so we could try to patrol, but I don't think it gets us anything. Like, we could try to patrol and do a big fight with Agartha. I don't think that is going to do what we would want it to in the long run. I still think that what we should try to do is we should try to delay as long as possible, try to get some gear, try to get some research boosters, hit some research goals. Specifically for Agartha, I am very interested in the Iron Skin, Moss Body, Temper Flesh combo, right? Because in theory, we could make an unkillable thug, right? And have Agartha's whole army just rout on us, right? So we've got a couple of different options that we can try to play with, and I think with the amount of siege strength that he has here, we probably have 4 or 5 turns, right? Because we still have a lot of siege defense, and we don't have a very big wall integrity. He only needs to pop 250. But between these two things, he's not going to have a crazy amount of siege strength. So if we take a look at those are the specific, like, yeah, these are not these are sentinels, right? Pale One soldiers. No. Oh, never mind. These are way weaker than what I thought. So, yeah, these guys have high siege strength, so that actually is dangerous for us. These guys do not, and neither do the heavy infantry, right? But these guys do. Probably that's why he has them, is for siege bonus. So, maybe we won't have that many turns. We're going to have Alteration 3 next turn, and then we should have some research boosters after that. I don't think we're going to have enough research boosters to get us to 200, which would be the breakpoint that we would need. 200 would get us to Alt 4 in 2 turns. So instead, we're going to be there in 3 turns, which means he might pop us before then. So yeah. We're kind of playing with fire here, but I still think it's our best option. So, all right. Anyways, I don't think there's a lot more to really talk about here. We got to watch some fights here or there. There's potentially some fireworks that are going to happen between Ashdod and Van, which hopefully we'll get to see. That would be interesting. And we're pretty positive that we're going to be fighting Agartha on the capital. So, we'll see how things go over the course of the next few turns. And maybe we'll be able to have a fun little, cap defense fight before we go out. And that'll be that. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.